to be the divinely guided force for the greatest good for humanity, from a place of unity, kindness, and compassion. So, for those with intuition or that are able to see or communicate beyond the veil and able to see maybe the future or different timelines, because they're all possibilities of things and are quite tapped in, can kind of tell we are going through some difficult times, and those that are even awake, maybe that are paying attention, can see. So these are coming, and I know we're going to face some trials and tribulations as humanity, as within, so without, and the same. And like I explained to you, we've been going through some major. In my last video, as I said, we're going through some major clearing and purging, and who knows, individually. Not everybody, though. It seems to go, thank goodness, they don't do everybody at the one time, otherwise, we would be all out of action. But a lot of light workers are going through this, and some that have been spiritually awake and done their dark night of the soul a long time ago are going through some deep purging, healing, some very dark times, and physical. A lot of them have physical issues, as I said, many. This is part of our change, of our upgrades, as our cleansing and the earth cleansing. And as I said, same with the earth. What we clear in ourselves and cleanse is being taken off the earth's grid as well. So everyone's going up because we're all connected in frequency, in consciousness, in vibration, and da da da. So we've been pushed, and I've been really pushed, and so are many others. But I can only talk for myself because I'm not going to talk for others. It's not my place to do that. So what I can share is that I said yesterday on my Facebook as well that what's coming in is what we're going to see outside. So what we're seeing out is us clearing our karmic debt, past lives, this life, and things, and or whatever, any energies, which is part of we've accumulated as souls on this planet. But it also gets stored in the Akashic records, which is on the Earth grid. So we're helping Mother Earth, and we're cleansing and clearing the grid and ourselves. But what we're seeing now, I understand we're seeing it reflected in the external, the majority of people. So what we're going to see is this happening on a mass scale. So outside is going to look, like I said, pretty messy because we're having a major purge and cleanse and clear on Earth among humans, and a lot of people aren't even aware of this, so their behavior might not be wonderful. Secondly, karmic debt. As a planetary, as a humanity, we've taken on karmic debt because we're all connected. We go back to the same thing. Everything is connected. So as within, same with people, same with the planet. So what we're doing is it's as a humanity or as a collective, we're going to bring up, the collective is going to bring up planetary karma, past, it's like the First World War, Second World War, the horrendous things we've done as a planet, as humanity, as a whole, we've all participated in. Well, so we know we've got some tough times coming ahead of us. They're not showing us everything purposely because it's going to be affecting us. So obviously, this is one, I suppose, even as people that are awake and tapped in, they don't show you everything for a reason. We're not supposed to know. Some of it might affect us as well. So they don't show us everything. And that's sort of been kept. So at the moment, I could see, and when I sat in my meditation this morning, I gathered, we always know it's for the greatest good. I'm thinking, wow, I'm really being put through the ringer here. But there's a good reason for it. And what came to me was, yes, there is. Because when the proverbial, let's put it politely, shite hits the fan on the planet, we won't be triggered by it because there's many of us, even in light workers I know that have been awake a long time, quite advanced spiritually, are going through stuff now. But even they're being triggered, some of them, by what's going on outside because they for humanity, they're concerned about you're being triggered, you're worrying about the future because we're concerned about what happens to a lot of people out there. And there's a lot of fear porn going on and fear mongering going on and making people think the worst of, a lot of, anyway. So we've got all this on the planet. We've got all the people focusing on maybe the worst outcome, which is not a positive thing to do in the first place. So if things we have natural disasters or we have many people leaving the planet for medical issues or whatever the reason is, it's anything happens. If it's on a mass scale, like we've had wars and things that traumatize the planet, it's not going to help those that are here to help, to heal, to guide, to do anything if they're going to be triggered by it. Because normally what happens, when something happens on a mass scale, it normally traumatizes the planet. Everybody on the planet is horrified because we're all connected, and it's a massive energy, and you're going to pick up. So it's I suppose teaching us already now that no matter what happens around us, we're not going to be affected. That we can stay in a place of inner peace, calm, centered, high frequency, high vibration. So no matter what happens around us, we're able to send out love, we're able to send out compassion, we're able to heal, we're able to be effective, hold that light and that frequency, and not be affected by, whatever's happening around us. If everything's crumbling around you, it doesn't affect you. And that's where we really need to be. And that takes a bit of a level of mastery to get there. So we've been pushed through that needle in such a hurry. So it's like we haven't got time now, for years of work and spiritual work and mastery. It's kind of, it's kind of it's speeded up. So we all kind of been shoved through in a hurry. I understand it. So you've got to try and reach that level of mastery in a short period of time, where before people might have taken 20 years to get there. So I think it's a lot of this is why this is going on. It's to make sure we have purged and cleared everything, so we will not be triggered, and we will not be, dragged into the drama or trauma, fear, or whatever happens. We're able to be effective. We're able to lead. We're able to hold that energy. We're able to master. Yeah, walk through without being affected, but have the compassion there, but not hold that energy. So it's we're learning to master our energy, not to give our power away, not to be sucked into whatever, all kinds of things. So we're really being pushed to cleanse. There's one. That's the first part. Secondly, call to action. I made this is because those of us that are have seen bits. Everyone gets different visions and different things. There's different timelines. But we know we're going to have changes on the planet because the planet itself we're moving to different times, planetary, cosmically. So it's affecting our astrology, where the planet was situated, the frequencies, everything's changing. You'll see the Schumann resonance, Earth's magnetic field, because this is what we're all doing. This is why it's changing. Guess why? We're all doing massive cleansing, clearing. Earth's clearing a grid. She's got to ascend. We've got to ascend. So, wow. So there's going to be big changes on the planet. And it's not what people are used to. So it's fear. Whether the climate, as you see, people are moaning about temperatures will change. We are changing. The position is changing. The stars, everything. Astrologically, physically, emotionally. Everything is connected, people. So it's unknown territory. We know we will have changes, as you see on the planet, structural, physical. We're going to have, as I say, it's affecting, all these things are going on. You can just tell by the collective. Look at us eternally. So we've got weather events, natural disasters, heating up of the planet, the sun's getting warmer, the planet's moving, where we are in the galaxy is changing, the Earth magnetic field's changing, the frequency's changing. Well, that's why, because we are moving. This is the new age. We're going into new frequency. We're going into new everything, absolutely everything. So no one can really predict what's going to happen, and they're not going to show us absolutely everything. And there's different timelines. So we're also going to choose how long we're going to go through that birthing canal. We can choose to speed it up, or we can choose to take a long time to get there. It depends on how much healing and how much clearing and how much forgiveness and unity, and there's millions of us on the planet at all different levels of consciousness. And at the moment, if you look at the moment where we're standing, the current level of consciousness, lots of manipulation going on and fear-mongering going on all sides, all media, alternative, everything, a lot. So we've got a long way to go. We also know we've got some planetary changes and weather problems to come, and we know we're going to have some sort of cleansing going on. Depending on the timeline, I don't know. Even I can't tell you. They're not telling us. And I won't focus. I'm not putting my attention and buying into the worst timeline because I don't want to help manifest it. So I don't, whether it's let's just say the needle thing, or whether it's the whatever. There's so much nonsense being fed onto humanity. Humanity's always, and they're expecting the worst. It's human nature. So whether it's apocalypse, end of the world, a meteor, please, doesn't matter what side you're looking at, there's fear going on there because there's massive trauma and clearing needed. So one side's telling us, oh my gosh, we're going to be hit by, it doesn't, I don't know, who knows? There's people buying into all kinds of ideas out there. Asteroid into the end of the earth, really nasty things. I mean, tidal waves, it's, whatever, some kind of, whatever. It's a lot of healing and things need to be done out there. And so some of us have seen, we know we're going to have problems. We know we're going to have weather events because we don't know. Our weather is going to change. Our climate's going to change. Like any epoch or new times after Atlantis and all these things changed. It's going slowly. So because we have free will and there's millions of us out there, and a lot are being deceived, so that a few seem to still being able to lead millions and down whichever direction they want them to go. People still sometimes, forget that what you focus on is what you manifest. So they're putting out the worst timeline, fair line, porn agenda out there and getting everybody to believe this is going to happen. Well, it's, they're going to manifest it. It's just as simple as that. So it's very difficult. I suppose this is one of the reasons why we also push now to clear and stay centered and not buy into this nonsense. As light workers, we're doing major cleaning and healing and purging, because if you're holding that kind of ability as well and frequency, you don't want to manifest. They don't want you focusing on the negative because we're going to be adding to the problem. It wouldn't be good when you have that ability now. And yeah, so let's hope our level of consciousness, our light, our abilities are going to increase. So you don't want them decreasing, focusing on the negative, because that will be destructive. So there's many things, and not the whole picture is coming through to me, but things are coming. So I haven't been shown, and I haven't exactly asked for doom and gloom. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? They just come. If they're going to show me events that are going to come or something bad, I get to see them, and I don't ask, I don't focus on, I don't think. It's like the natural disasters I was shown, and I haven't even watched the news. So I don't even know if some of these things have happened yet, or they will happen. I don't know, because I really haven't watched the news. I do not watch any news on any channel, anywhere, any media, any of this nonsense. So there might have been these earthquakes and flooding that I've shown in my visions. Some of it, I wouldn't know if they've happened yet or not. But we do know this. We're going to have some of these things. Which ones they prevent and which ones will go ahead, I'm not sure. As I say, because people don't realize we're affecting it. This is a problem, especially when we've been being led and following fear porn of the worst disasters, and it's going to be a meteorite, or it's going to be a needle is going to do this, and oh my gosh. Anyway. So I don't know what we're going to manifest. People will learn, and how many of us will leave the planet or not. But I presume the Earth, we're going to have some karmic debt as humanity coming our way, which we got to accept. Well, it's karmic debt and let it go, but not hold on to it. This is why I think we ourselves as light workers, awakened ones, that are being put through this purging, cleansing, clearing thing. It was exactly what came through me. It was like, oh wow, made total sense. And I'm really going through the ringer, people. I'm not gonna. Yesterday was a bad one for me. Did I have a bit of a pity party? I needed that. Yesterday I was like, oh, just let me just revel in it a bit, It was difficult one yesterday. And when I sat in meditation today, I was shown this is why. Exactly. So when the proverbial planetary karma comes our way, whether it's going to be one mass event, or, over a period of time, a short period of time or something, that we will not be able to be affected like Jesus. Doesn't matter what happened, he was not thrown off, emotionally or upset, or you couldn't shake them, put it that way. So it's like saying you can walk on the water or walk through the storm without being affected by it. This is exactly why they're doing it to us right now. So when that happens, we will be able to, no matter what we walk around, what we walk through, we will be completely unaffected energetically. We won't, our emotional energy, we're not going to absorb that. We will be no use to anybody. So this is what's come to me. So call to action was not to go and carry on and drama, is to be that compassion and action, right? Now, as I said to people, I've tried to get people to focus locally, and we can absolutely do it. This is where you can really have an effect, and you will spread it because it does. It really, it's like an example. The person in your next neighborhood or your next street will take it on because they'll see what's going on and they'll think, "Oh, that's a good idea." So we got to be the leaders. Any positive change, we've got to start doing it, people. So, and I've been telling you, this is on my mind about this. So you're seeing now, people. There's a lot of people that I see that are completely unaware that this is going to go on for years, right? Because they haven't maybe gone into. If you go, well, I don't know who's watching. I presume people that are awake are watching me. So if you go onto World Economic Forum's website, go down to security, go down to COVID. This was out already 2019. They've got a massive interactive web you can open up maps. So this is planned. This is a great reset. This is of what they're going to do, how many stages, over what period of time. So this is going to go on for years. Most people aren't aware of this. A lot are, but a lot aren't if you watch. So people think this is going to end in a year or so, and all like anyway. There's that one, World Economic Forum. You can go to the World Bank, you can go to United Nations, and look at the steps and phrases, the Great Reset, whatever. 2025 is the first 5 years, and then we got another, and then we've got to 2030 basically, where the whole society would have changed in structure, economics, but the whole thing. So we have a lot of people. Let's just take our community for instance, right? Here I'm sitting, where I am, which is in the northern part of the UK, has a major problem. They always have since the collapse of the mining and industrial, and this was a sheep farming area and all kinds of things. So they completely collapsed it and didn't replace it with anything, basically. So they left this area into absolute desolate poverty, and they haven't really put any. It's always been a bitter contention of the north has been neglected and left behind. So there's massive poverty here. They have this is just taking a note. Huge area where it always had a very low income, poverty, very low salary, very everything. So if you go and look at, this is a while ago, I haven't updated it, but say in 2018 or so, the housing list, there was a waiting list for housing, low cost housing, affordable housing, council housing, whatever it was. And literally their salaries are they literally survival area, the majority, seriously. So it was 5 years, just a 5 year waiting list just to get onto affordable houses, people to try and, so they out of this, they're literally living from, hand to mouth food sort of thing. Now we've had this story and we know, certain furloughs, we've plunged so many people into unemployment. So we got many people, hundreds of thousands of them. And in some countries are even worse. It's like, I can just into poverty, into joblessness, into who already were literally going from paycheck to paycheck, month to month, their savings, forget it. So we're going to have a huge amount of people. We know already then, since the collapse, since 2008, it's been like this, just got worse and worse and worse in poverty. The inequality, everyone knows statistically what's happened. So we already had a massive issue of poverty, people with no savings, and I mean, I saw this paper the other day when I was in the shop. I saw the headlines at the front page of the newspaper saying how many people they reckon now that their lifespan has dramatically dropped for those in poverty. I can only imagine. So just for myself, from observing and not following the news and not following anything, I'm probably least informed now of statistics and things, whether they're true or not, I'm not sure, of what's going on out there, but I was before this happened. So just take my local area, for instance, even my street. I've noticed since the lockdown that the prices of food has gone up, but gently, just gone up. So they probably put a 10 pence on here, 10 pence on there, and it's just climbed and climbed. But since the lockdown, food's almost doubled. Your grocery bill is almost doubled. And that's, anyway, so the price of food has gone through the roof when we've had less jobs, actually, basically businesses going under, closing down, not opening, furloughs, which is not your whole salary, unemployment, you name it, people. So you really had people in poverty. We really had food bank issues, people in poverty. There was a huge UN report, which I know the government denied. I actually believe what the UN report. I don't take the side of the denial. I actually completely believe it. So I took that as truth, and I would rather that's what I see is more accurate. So let's say, just I'm talking just from my place, but people don't realize what's going on in their own towns and villages or areas or neighborhood or district. We have poverty people. We know we've got. So this puts also, it's going to put, first of all, psychological. That's why our suicide problem is going to go up. Because you've got people now that are worried. It doesn't matter what area, they're the child or the mother or the father, whatever part of the family, or they're even single, right? You've got people that are on pension now. Who are struggling, with state pensions, which is a majority of people. Remember, the rich or the wealthy is a very small minority of the population because the inequality is so great. So the majority of people are literally middle class kind of vanished. So we've got the majority of people that are battling, majority of people that have lost their savings, majority of people that are, on state pensions and a kind of vibe or the pensions or whatever the story is. Now we've done this, so we know we've got a huge amount of people that are battling. They have no savings. They're maybe struggling to buy food. They're just buying whatever, edible, and it's not healthy. There's no being fussy about one's health here. They're eating. People are battling, and they're going to be worse. So you've got that pressure now on the average person that hasn't done healing, that hasn't woken up, whatever the story is. If they're not spiritual, you haven't got that. They're now have that mental stress pressure because you're worried about you're going to be homeless, you're going to be food, you can't, you can't afford clothes in winter, you can't afford the new shoes for your child because children, that's one thing, people with children, their children don't stop growing. And they now have, we've got increased council tax went up, food, the price of food's gone up, everything's gone up, but the benefits and housing, there's no more housing. They didn't get increase in benefits, or they furloughed, so they got a certain percentage of their price. So basically, yes, things are a lot harder. If they were bad already, we had food banks poverty. Affects everybody's country is going to be the same, just in different levels. You've now pushed this poverty, starvation, hunger, stress, fear, worry of this up. And a lot of people that have never been in this position before, it's pride and embarrassment. They don't want everybody else that doesn't know them to know that they, going to the shop and are scared now that my bill's going to be £12 and I've only got £10 or whatever the story is. This is literally, they are just counting, just hoping that when they get to pay for their groceries that they can do it, or have to just look at their £2 and know, well, I've got £2, what can I buy for £2? And it's getting worse. So we've got, now this is the thing, because of the society we lived in, people don't know their own, say, block. Not in a street, depends on the size of your street. Your street might be small, depending on someone's street. So yes, they might know people in their street. Some people's streets are quite long and have a huge amount of pop. They not know who lives in their street. We've got so used to always assuming that this poverty and everything else is far away, that you're not affected by it, you don't know anybody with it, or you didn't see it, it wasn't in your face. And a lot of it isn't because people hide it. Now, why this has touched me, and I said it was always, I would hope people start doing this. And if we each do this in our own street, right? And you motivate it and you do it and you motivate other people, you talk to friends and family about it, they will do it in their street or neighborhood. Because there's always a good person. So what I am now wanting to do, because I don't see anyone do, and some people aren't even aware there's an issue here, because they've still got their job or things are okay for them. So they just think, oh, it's going to be fine. And they're not paying attention. They actually just think, oh, well, it's an odd sort of maybe little hiccup in the shop because we're not getting supplies. I have noticed continually since the lockdown, we've had food supplies, issues, delivery problems. There's either a shortage of this or a shortage of that, or there's no meat, or there's no whatever nonsense. But fresh produce, and this is no excuse because we haven't been in lockdown. So we're not really sitting in a lockdown bad situation here. It's been summer. We haven't had any major problems. The weather's been all right. Yet there's been a big supply of fresh produce problems. And this has been for a bit now. And the first time it was, oh, well, I thought I came on the wrong day. Oh, we had I don't know why they didn't deliver today. It's been a problem. And this is not one supermarket. This is many I go to, different ones. And they're all giving you the same story, that there's a supply issue. They didn't get their arrival. And sometimes I've been in the shop where there's been nothing. Not one piece of lettuce. No fresh produce. We have got fresh produce issues, which is fruit, vegetables, the thing you should be eating, at completely. And there's always another excuse. So whether it's Brexit, probably most likely, trade wars because of the Great Reset, and you can see they're really doing it. So it's got to do with the Great Reset, which is going to affect trade. Groups, same with the Brexit. This is what it's going to affect everything. They're just having it's a power struggle going on now. All kinds of things that you're not being told, that are not being out in the public. It's being kept from you. They're saying, look over there, look at COVID, worry about this, but you're really not being told what you should be worrying about. So it's pretty obvious. And now we know we're going to have weather events, and which I see. I haven't been following, so I don't know some of the things that I saw that were showing to me visions, who's been hit and who hasn't. Some of them are really bad. So we have major, which will increase, major weather anomalies, events as the planet changes, and certain areas will change. The climate's going to change in certain areas, whatever. That will take a bit slowly, I presume, anyway, because we're moving, Earth's moving anyway, everything's moving. So we're going to see set changes. That's just a reality of the matter. But at the moment, we're having problems getting fresh produce. I know it's not even winter here yet. There's excuses. Sometimes you just don't get. And prices have already gone up. I noticed the other day, I'll be honest with you, I went to the shop about 2 days ago, to my local shop here. There's a little smaller shop, not a big supermarket in my village. A small kind of, one. And one of my neighbors, who's, I'm not going to keep it as, for their sake, as private as possible, which I know fairly okay, as I've chat to them and, hello and whatever. I know them, but not on a personal level. Luckily, for some reason, I'd gone and I'd been farting around a bit, and then I decided to go to the shop. So I got there a bit late, and I was standing in a queue waiting to pay at the counter. And I saw her at the self-checkout, and she came up to me and asked me if I could help her out if I had £1. She was a bit short of money to pay for her groceries or her whatever. She was £1 short. She had cash on her, but she didn't. And then I think, of course, I don't keep cash on me at all. So I said, well, I've got my card. Yeah, of course, So she said, oh, well, if I pay for it, and then she give me the cash that she's got, and she'll give me the pound later. I said, that'd be silly. It was something like £12.97 or something like to that extent. And she only had 10 or 11 pounds on her or something. So I said, don't be silly. She gave me a 10. I said, I want your £2, whatever, the change. And I'm very glad that I'm able to help. Because it's embarrassing if you get to the till and you're slightly short. And I've been in that situation myself before, which is a good thing. If you've been through all things, you understand. But many people out there haven't. They've been privileged. They haven't ever been in a situation like that. They don't know what it's like. They haven't been in the ups and downs. And it is very embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing if you get there and you actually miscalculated or something, and and you don't have the money. If you're a kid, you don't care, but as an adult. And she really was. And I was like, don't be silly, I don't want you, just keep your change, whatever. I was so happy that I was able to help her. I was like, oh, wow. And I was really chuffed that I happened to go to of course, it's not an accident, their shop at that time, just to be able to help her. But she was, I could see, embarrassed and humiliated. And when I got home, of course, because that's normal, our brains, we never think properly. We've been walking through life very unconsciously. And then you take a bit of time to reflect and you think, hang on a second, like me, if I go to the shop, as a woman, you're going to have a handbag, you have your card with you, you have a bank card with you. So even if she had cash on her, she would have had a bank card with her. Then I realized, oh, this is not just a one little, oops, I have a problem. If you were short of money to be able to pay for that, how come you didn't pull your card out? You would have had, you could just say, well, then, okay, I don't have enough cash, let me use my card. And then I realized, oh my gosh, and her husband is working, they're both working, and they've got a little child. So probably things are a lot tighter than they make out. Then I noticed I've got a gentleman that's living across the road from me. He's got an injury. So I think he's on pension. He would be on pension, his age. So he would be on pension and sort of disability. I don't know, but he has problems. He's challenged, put it that way. Personal challenges or challenge, I'm not sure. But I mean, he's very quiet, very much one of a hermit that keeps to himself, that sort of hoards in his house, doesn't let anyone in his house, that he has problems. I can see that. He's challenged. He has challenges. So you got that something wasn't all right there with his dog. But then I noticed, and I thought about this, and it came to me yesterday, and I thought, I never see that man. Now he seldom leaves his house. He leaves his house every morning, like a few times a day, to take his dog for a walk. That is it. literally. And groceries. I have seldom seen him come back from the shop with a grocery bag. And once he did it, because he's got a kind of a limp, he can't walk properly on the one. But he dropped the bag, and I saw it fell out of it. So what happened the other day is I made a carrot cake. Sorry, this is long-winded. I'll get to where I'm going. I made a carrot cake, because I haven't made one for 10, 12 years, or maybe, who knows, I can't even remember. That's how long ago it was, maybe 20 years, I don't know. And I really felt like a piece of carrot cake. And I didn't have my friend's recipe, who's amazing. So I went on YouTube, made a carrot cake, found a recipe on YouTube which sounded like the ingredients were right, but it wasn't particularly as good as my friend's, but it was too big. So I ended up with this enormous sized cake. It wasn't a small sized cake, it was quite a large cake. So I thought, oh my gosh, all I wanted was one piece, because I had carrots and I wanted to use them in extra nuts. And I just thought, I don't eat sugar. And I'd also stopped eating sugar years ago, so I'd seldom eat any rubbish, really. So I made a carrot cake. And I had a piece, and that was like, for me, enough now. Not for someone who's not used to sugar and stuff. It's like, oh. I had one piece of cake, and my daughter had one. I was like, oh my gosh, what do we do with all this cake now? So I thought, okay, well, never mind. I've got neighbors, and a few of them have got kids. They'll be happy. So I sliced it up into lots of slices, literally. And as they came, I'm knock on the door. Would you like some carrot cake? Because I'd iced it and everything. So most people were very happy. So I went to everyone's house. It was a home, and offering carrot cake. Most people were very happy they'd go to get a free piece of cake. Now this man was one of them. He doesn't open his door to you. He's very quiet and very sort of, so he came to the kitchen window, and he said to me, come to the window. Yes, you'll have a piece. And so I sort of got to the kitchen window, which I normally don't stand and look in his kitchen window, and realized, ooh, and I could see that no one really cleans the house. It's one of those elderly people, they tend sometimes to be unhygienic or hoarding a bit. And I noticed, wow, there's a lot of mess there, and it basically a few bit of left. So basically, I have the odd sandwich, a bit of ham here, and I'm thinking he's got a dog. I don't see him bring dog food there. So I don't know. I don't know how, because I mean, you don't see people coming to his house, groceries coming there, him buying groceries. You're wondering, how are they living on? Well, I'm not sure. And then I saw when I handed the cake through his kitchen window that there's pretty much not much in there, a lot of kitchen rubbish or left, sort of sandwich things left on the counter. And I thought, oh my gosh, that dawned on me as well, thinking this man must be, if he's living off the state pension, which is the minimum is I think it's £150 a week. Wow. And paying council tax and home, whatever. I don't know if he's paying rent or mortgage or any of those things, but if he is, you cannot do it. There are a lot of old people, I can understand why they say they live off soup or they live off, it's horrendous. So I just thought, oh my gosh, it's probably my neighbor hasn't got much food or probably can't afford. So he's really thin. So there's another one. There's a guy living right across the road from me. He's probably not eating much at all or living on soup or something. Who knows? And that made you kind of think, wow. So it really did. It worried me because I know we're going to have an impact. This is going to impact many people and many families. And then, of course, it affects them emotionally and their children. It's like a vicious cycle. So sustainable development is one thing. We need to be more resilient and less reliant on outside. Now, if you notice, we've got exactly the opposite at the moment. We're sitting in the UK, everything is imported. When you go to buy groceries here, I'm talking for you, you must go and look at your own countries, your own councils, your own area. Please do some reflecting and looking into this. Here, everything is imported. We've been on an island. So it's flown in from all over the world. Every different bit is everything you're eating, basically. Your avocado comes from here. It's unbelievable. There's nothing sustainable about it because it's been flown over or shipped over. So that's pollution. That's travel. It's been picked weeks ahead. So the food that you buy here, the fresh produce, it goes off. It doesn't last long in your fridge. If you've grown your own vegetables, you know it can last quite long if it's fresh when it's just picked. Our stuff is very old. Very old. So when you buy it within a day, 2 or 3, it's already going old. It just goes, it looks like as soon as you put it in your fridge, it just automatically. So they're obviously putting stuff on it to preserve the food. But the minute you take it home, you can literally have it. You don't eat it within 3 days. It normally goes in the dustbin. This is fresh produce. So we have an issue. Everything's imported. We are reliant on the food chain. We're reliant on imports, which is a terrible thing. Where we have technology these days, even to grow things in winter. Grow lights, hydroponics. So even if we have short very short days here in winter to grow. And obviously the temperatures, but that's not a problem with tunnels and all kinds of, you've got such technology now. There's no excuse why England are pleased with the technology we have. People grow inside massive warehouses of food. You can grow it on Mars, they can grow food. And we know they're doing this. So why do we not do this in the UK? One wonders. So we're completely reliant on imports, basically everything, which is bad. If there's a food chain, natural disasters, typhoon, tidal wave, what are you going to do? Takes out your food chain, who you had your trade agreements with, or you can't get, obviously the shipping lanes are blocked or whatever issues like we're having now. Nothing like that happening, but we have food problems. So whether it's to do with Brexit, trade wars, fighting, borders, who knows, whatever nonsense. I'd love to know. But we have problems. And like we did in the war, people pulled together and got their acts together, and you don't have a problem. We need to be more self-reliant. If we can't rely on our governments to get themselves sorted out, we can do it ourselves. But we need to start, and how we do it is get that motivation, get people active, motivated, and encouraged by doing it, by starting these ideas, by spreading them, by sharing them, by doing these things. So in your local street community, I'm going to address my neighbors now, all of them, in my street, which is not very long. I've got a short street and it sort of goes off down the side. So I'm going to basically leave a note and knock on everyone's door, speak to all my neighbors, and try and arrange a certain time we can all chat without embarrassing anybody. And so I'm not going to point out, who's the one who's really struggling and who I suspect are having problems, but I think it's at least 3 in my street that are going to have issues. If they're not now, they definitely are. With, battling with food and maybe money and all kinds of things. Yet I see people always leave bags outside. These charities drop. I'm talking for the UK, so you've got to look at your area, what happens there, and look into it. And maybe they could start communicating, or it'll help as well, because you start meeting people and working together, and you'll find everyone's happy to cooperate when it comes to that. There's these charities that come down, whether it's Age UK, whatever, and they leave bags to your door, and so any old clothes you've got, people put them in the bag, and then some car comes around once a week and they collect all these so-called clothes that have been donated. Now we know, even locally, here's an example of that exact disaster. We're relying on our governments and UNs and officials and charities. Most of the charity shops and charity places are closed and non-essential notice during this. Now, this is when they're most essential. We need food banks and clothing places that are open, that are not selling stuff, that are giving it to the people that haven't got money. Because now you've got all these people that are going to be even more in trouble, that can't afford to buy their kids now, shoes are too small for them, jerseys too small because kids grow all the time. And now they know that, first of all, there's no charity shops open most of the time, because they can't get volunteers, people are too frightened, or it's been locked down, or it's always something. So very much, most of the charity shops locally have been closed. So free clothes, they've gotten enough, I've noticed. Now they're opened again recently. My local one, I even popped in, I was amazed. No, and I spoke to the woman, you know what she said? They've had no volunteers. People are too frightened, so they don't have staff to even man these shops. They've got such a backlog of stuff that's been donated. So most people, they had a sign outside there saying, please don't drop off any more stuff because we can't process it. Because of during the lockdown, everybody was still donating and donating. It's sat bags and bags and bags and garages. They've piled up now of all this stuff. They don't have enough staff to process it, to market, to price it. And then, so these people, the people that are needing it, the poor and the needy, can't access the stuff. The shops aren't open. It's sitting in, it's been backlogged, so no one's processing it, pricing it. And then who's going to afford to buy it? The poor people, these are poor people. They are struggling. And the rest of it's being shipped to Europe, to other countries, and being sold as well to Africans and to, it's ridiculous. Never mind, most people aren't aware of this. It's not given for free, people. To people that need, it's all being sold. They do it here, they're selling it in charity shops. The rest, they're saying it gets shipped. It doesn't. It gets shipped to these African and third world countries. It gets weighed in massive bags. Street vendors then can bid whatever kind of bag you want, a really cheap clothing, more expensive clothing. It's packed in certain things. They buy that per kilogram and they go and set up little stores and they sell it. They're not given people. So we can prevent, we can help a lot if all of us, every one of you who's ever motivated, and hopefully you share this to other people, in your street, you tell your people. So I'm happy to be the person, the collector in my street, right? So if anybody has clothes and they need to be going, we know. So we speak about our neighbors. Okay, so I know these kids, whatever else they are battling, they need clothes or food. People, anyone who has clothes that want to give away to kids, please don't give them away. Drop them off at my house. Or there, there we are. You've got kids age so these people need clothes for kids that age. Great. Kids don't stop growing. Please understand these people. There's massive unemployment. They are battling. Foods that people are going to battle of all ages. So we get elderly that need that. So that there we are. Keep it locally. Okay. Same with our food. You make food, you got any leftovers, or you didn't eat this, it's going to get wasted. We don't throw food away. If we have leftovers, I can take it across the road and ask this man, I made too much food. You can do it in such a way. Do you want some? I made lasagna. Would you like some lasagna? Or, things like that. I've grown one too many peppers, or I've had one too many broccolis. Do you want? Same with I say, please, people, if we can encourage, speak to your local MPs, your local councillors, your district, your mayors, your this, your that, whatever, phone them, get behind them to grow, first of all. Try and get a campaign that everyone needs, because we need to do it. We've got a plan for down the line, that all your allotments are used maximum capacity. Because some people are using allotments to keep stuff on and sell and do a little business. They're not for growing. They're meant to be for food. That your councils, your areas, your farmers, there's always, I've seen I walk around here and I'm looking, a lot of areas I see these farmers are not using it. For some reason, certain parts they're not farming anymore. Some pieces of land are just stand there. There's no animals ever on them. They're not being used, whatever. Some are being paid by the National Trust, to leave them and put trees on them instead or something. But we will be able to find land. So if every village and every town, every area, make sure in your village, even in your street, you work by street to street, that everybody grows food in your back gardens, your yards, your whoever can afford, how they can afford it. Grow whatever you can, anywhere you can, and get this improved and pushed by your councils. So your area, your street, your villages become self-sufficient. All your allotments are looked at properly, what they're being used and utilized. That land is put aside by your council, or maybe a farmer will donate a piece of land. So I've got, say, so many, look at the size of your village or town, that then it's easily planned. You're working together with them, that they know between your allotments and a farmer's piece of land, and half an acre here, is enough to feed this village, this section. So everybody, and people's houses, everybody grows. What you don't use, you can start swapping. So you might now have grown and you've got too many broccolis, you can swap with your neighbor for a cauliflower. If everybody sticks locally, we will all know who needs, okay, I've grown, would you like some plants? I've grown this, do you want that? I've got extra clothes, my kids have outgrown, do it. And if I become the person in my street, right, and I've got like this like putting clothes out, instead of them going to a charity shop, I say, no, bring it here. They bring it here, right? No one in my street needs it. I will pass it on. Say that person in my next street, that person decides to be the person in charge for their street. I will then drop them off at her house. So each street will have one person, hopefully. And that's it. And we can, okay, do you have clothes? We can distribute. It's like a little network. You form a network. So in your square block, say I'm the person who is going to say, right, I'll be the drop-off point for anyone's, for clothes that you don't need. Drop them off at my house. This charity shop down the road here, the only one in my village, was shut most of the entire year. They have got so much stuff unprocessed and they can't even find that. They told people not to deliver anymore. There were signs, please don't drop any more stuff off there. Meanwhile, there are people that can't even afford to pay £2 for a jersey for their 2 kids or whatever else. That's how bad they are, because they're literally trying to survive. We've got to start thinking people out the box. Because we don't see it, we don't experience it, we're not aware it's going on, and it's going on under our noses, and it is going to be. And it puts pressure on the children, and embarrassment and stress, and they can't eat, and it has massive implications. So we can do it ourselves and start putting pressure on all our councillors and MPs and start this movement yourselves. So you get behind it with them, so they don't have massive food. You're going to have riots, and you'll have crime when there's no food as well. It has a snowball effect. So first of all, you're completely resilient no matter what happens around us globally, weather, politics, trade wars, any other, even a war. You won't have a problem. And if we all did that locally, so we know our street, we're all together, we're going to grow, we're going to have a little allotment when we have to. And we will look after this street or my block. And if everybody did that, we won't have a problem, people. We will get through this together. So I'm really hoping to encourage people to do this because it really made me, and I already made a video on my local community notice board. There's a Facebook page for my local area. It had like 6,900 people. So I'm sure even the councils and local businesses are on there. You can see people aren't aware of any of, they're not thinking down the line at all. They're not even aware this is going on. They're not. So I made a video on that today saying, addressing these issues, not in such detail about I don't want to embarrass people and neighbors and things, but just saying this is, we need to be more self-reliant. They're sustainable. First of all, it's sustainable. Completely sustainable. You're not reliant on anybody. If anything goes wrong, if there's any floods in England, this part of the country's cut off, your areas, your farmers might be washed away. It's trade wars, Brexit, all nonsense, lack of volunteers, lack of this, lack of drivers, lack of any nonsense. That's it. People aren't sitting around us, and that puts pressure on them. They're too embarrassed, and then that causes financial pressures and all that domestic problems that can go along with it. Children suicides and husband and wife problems, and there we are. We start acting again. We start building that community back, extended family of caring, and it will improve. You'll see, and it spreads. It will spread. So you get local businesses involved, people. So I'm hoping people will do that, please, people. We got some rough years, and this way you won't be affected. Your street, your neighborhood, whatever goes wrong, you're all clubbing together, everybody's sharing, everyone's helping each other. You're having food, you'll be fine. And that's the way to be. So, it changes. It'll change people's spirits. It'll have a mess. It's like a ripple effect. But this way, we're putting out a positive ripple, not a negative ripple, which is all that's going on and out there at the moment is negative. So let's start a positive wave of change, of energy, of action, because it's actionable things, not just talk. Because everyone sits back and waits for their leaders or their MPs or someone to do something, and nothing ever happens. That worries me. If we don't, we're going to see angry. We're going to see protests. We're going to see violence. We're going to see crime. We're going to see a lot of negative things if we don't start doing these things. If things go wrong, those are the ripple effects of those lack of food and of all kinds of other problems. Those are the reactions we're going to see. If we do this, we will see a positive wave of change and action, not negative. So I'm hoping. There we are, people. So I'm hoping I'm going to start doing this with my, I've made a video already on my groups. I'm looking for the local pages where I'm spreading these. So it makes people think. Because a lot of people it's not that they don't care, that this hasn't even crossed their mind. Most people aren't even aware of these things, haven't even thought it's just, they think, it's just a little problem. It's going to be over next year or whatever. They're not aware. It's just sad. So this is what I'm going to be doing in my street, having a chat with all the people here. You can't force people, and you'll find people will change when they see you. So you might not get everyone to join, but they will start seeing, and as it starts, they'll say, ooh. And people will. So you are very unlikely to find someone that they won't participate. And if they do, they'll soon change their mind, get them by the end of the year or something. Yeah. All right, let's start a positive ripple of change and not a negative one. And let's be proactive instead of reactive. Yeah. All right. All right, lovely people. That's as much as I want to say today. And then I would like to share. And I'm hoping that this spreads now. This wave goes across. And we will see, because all we're going to do is start locally. I don't expect you to go into the town hall now. And also, when the lockdowns go, they won't allow you. There's no meetings. It's only online. Address. I made a video now on my local community board, I saw there was 6,900 people in this group. So many people of all levels will hear it. So you can make a video in your local groups, your local council, your local things on all kinds of things. Do that. Okay, so look for local, they're always on social media. I don't know which social media you've got, but there will be for your councils, your area, whether it's a district council meeting groups or local, whatever, businessmen groups, or like I've got, just like as a community notice board, but it's for this whole area. I made a video on there now about this, my worries about this and about people. Not in such detail, but I shall. I'm sure I'll get people start responding to the video if they. Some people might. It depends what you say. If it's put in such a nice way, they are going to allow you to post on their group a video. But if it's in a negative way and people aren't going to, you see. So it just depends on you, what you say and your intentions. There we are. So let's put that out. Let's have some positive change. We need that love, community, compassion, love thy neighbor. We've so gone off. Um, anyway, there we are. All right, lovely people. Love you lot. You have a wonderful day. Bye.